Yo, what up? Welcome to another episode of the Oakland Warriors podcast. I'm Patrick, and I'm joined once again by my good buddy, Vubang. What's up, Vubang?
What's up? How you doing? How you doing post play day?
I'm doing great, man. That was a fun game, and as I always say, after the last two seasons, I just want to be entertained. I want to have fun. I want to see stuff that I haven't seen before, and this is something that I haven't seen before. You know, like you had said that the Warriors were going to do "quote unquote" the coolest thing ever for a returning player. And what'd you think of what happened? The hats and the tributes and all that stuff.
I mean, I think that was pretty incredible. Like the TNT guys were basically saying they've never seen a return home / video tribute / like that kind of fandom for a player coming back ever, which is totally true. Like who else can come back with that type of reception?
Yeah, not many. And considering that Klay kind of left in a little butthurt, and we know that, and he didn't want to make a big deal out of it, which any player coming back wouldn't want to make a big deal out of it. But I think it was good. And the idea that Steph was going to say some words and then they decided not to. I think that was a good idea because it just would have belabored something. And like you posted something about Steph talking about that. And I think they both would have gotten teary-eyed, and then like the whole arena would have started crying, and then it would have been really weird.
But you also saw why Steph said he didn't want to do it. Like part of it was just he didn't want it to be about him as well, which totally makes sense. Like this is not a Splash Brothers thing. This is Klay Thompson coming back. So the video tribute plus having him being announced last, like that was perfect. And the hats, of course, which are going for $200 a piece on eBay, by the way, if you're interested.
I was like, my girlfriend was like, "Hey, those are cool hats," and I was like, "I'm sure you can get one tomorrow on eBay." I haven't looked yet, but yeah. That's good to know because there's only 19,000 of them. Because that'd be funny if they actually sold them in the store, considering he's no longer a player. But let me ask you about the game. First off, what did you make of Steph's extreme emotions throughout, and especially at the end? I mean, he was aggro, man. He was like flexing, yelling, looking for the camera in the basket stanchion, and like yelling and mugging and all this stuff. What'd you think of all that?
If it was any other player, I'd be like, this guy is basically like maybe going at Klay Thompson, but it's Steph Curry. So like everybody takes it with a grain of salt, right? So what is it that he said with the 4 words? Like, this is you shouldn't have left or something, or like, this is why you stay. So like everybody's reading into his lips to figure out what he actually said, like he was pointing down and saying like, this is why you stay, or something like that. We're not sure if he meant Klay or not, but I mean, this is totally emotional. I mean, this is 11 years. Like I wouldn't expect it to be anything but also end of the day, like he had a crazy, he had the last 12 points for the team, right? How do you not have that type of emotion when you're playing that hard? And on the other end, like Klay, I mean, he airballed one and clanked against the backboard on another 3. And so definitely emotions going both ways, really.
Yeah. Steph, I mean, I was trying to read lips and I realized I can't read lips. I was like, this is a waste of my time. But I also thought it was kind of one of these things where it's like this catharsis of things are different for him and Draymond and, Kerr and the organization, like those guys, and seeing Klay and finally having this moment. I do obviously think, and it's probably a common thing that these guys see their basketball mortality. And it was a little bit of that too, Steph, like sensing the, not that it's over in a year or 2 or 3 or whatever, but just the finality, the coming to a close, because Klay is on the other side of the court and all this jazz, and to me I was like, oh cool, Klay's coming back, but obviously to them it's and to a lot of people it's this huge massive hump to get over, and this milestone, and I think I love the fact that Steph can still do that. Like score the final 12 points. The dude, I mean, he gets a shot off so quick, and he hits some twos, mid rangers, and I'm like, he just shoots set shots, man. It's crazy to me. He's not like shooting like fadeaway jumpers to get open. He's just kind of dribbling around and baiting people, and then all of a sudden it's like boom, he's open, and he'll just quickly fire up. He'll jump like 2 inches off the ground and swish it. I mean, that's amazing.
If he could do it to an entire country of France, then he can do it to Klay Thompson and the Dallas Mavericks. It's fine. But can I be devil's advocate or just propose something controversial? Which
Always.
is, did you see how fast the hug was at the end between Klay and Steph? Is that a quick hug, as in like we've been talking all the time, so we don't need to play it out? Or is there something else going on? And I also will go back and reference like Steph Curry's MVP acceptance speech, where he basically, like, remember when he spoke to each individual player, and when he went to Klay, he said, basically like we came up together, and I'm sorry I don't get to spend as much time with you because I have a family now, and I wish I could. Like, is there a chance that they really drifted apart over the past decade, and they aren't as close as we think they are?
I think they are close in terms of the how much they care and like each other. I don't obviously think there's any animosity. I think it's definitely one of those things where, yeah, I mean, we see Steph, that dude is such a family guy and is so focused on his business ventures, his media ventures, all this other stuff. And Klay was just, remember a few years ago, I talked to you about like, man, Steph could have been, if he wasn't so religious and wasn't married, he could have been like the basketball Derek Jeter, and I was like, well, Klay could be that too, but he's just not out there as much. They just had different lifestyles. And I think that they are close. Obviously, when Klay was out for, an eternity with those 2 leg injuries, he wasn't around, especially that first year. And I think that there's just, a lot of drama, not between them, but just, some distance. People grow, people move apart. And Klay's had to deal with different stuff. So I don't necessarily think like a quick hug, because in that presser, Steph was like, we talk behind the scenes, you know what I mean? It's not for show. It's not for having this for the cameras, for TNT's ratings and all the stuff. They're all really savvy about that. And they're not going to, have this long 5-minute greeting when they probably like talk to each other the day before or whatever, you know what I mean? Where everybody could like read their lips, except for me, because I can't do that. And it does make me wonder though, like, man, I wonder how often they actually communicate. You know what I mean? But it
always surprises me who's close with what. If you remember the Steph at Harrison Barnes's wedding with Kyrie Irving and them making fun of something LeBron related. Do you remember? Like, it always surprises me who gets invited to what weddings, like who is actually close. Just the fact you see Draymond hanging out with Jason Tatum all the time. This all stuff really confuses me. Like when you see more photos of Draymond with Jason Tatum outside of basketball than you do with Draymond and Klay, that's what I have to ask these questions because I don't understand at all.
Yeah, I mean, over the summer, right? Like when Kerr was asked to speak at the DNC, he texted Steph. Again, this is player coach, but he texted Steph. He said if he could do the night thing, and he said, "Yeah, Steph never got back to me, so I figured he was fine with it." Right? Like, so Steph couldn't even like respond with a thumbs up. Or,
because he was busy recording the video that was going to play at the DNC later, which really helped.
He's like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the night. But yeah, I mean, it was a fun game. I'm glad the obviously that the Warriors won, and man, I don't know. I just, 2 weeks ago we skipped last week. We didn't record an episode, but 2 weeks ago we did our predictions for the road trip, the 5-game road trip. We both said 3-2. I picked the for the final 3 tough games. I picked the Celtics. They'd beat. You picked the Cavs. But regardless, they came back 4-1. And while some players were out for their opponents, for the Celtics and for the Thunder. I mean, I said if they come back 4-1, that'd be amazing, and then we're really on to something. What's your opinion on?
I'm going to pretend to
this
be my
team is?
friend Waskar, who's a Knicks fan, who basically has a whole theory about how every Warriors championship involved one player from the other team being injured. If you go back and apparently look at all of the tea leaves, but I mean, no Jaylen Brown, no Porzingis, no Chet Holmgren for the majority of the game. Like, I would say that obviously doesn't quite prove the Warriors, but they also played these away, like they're away games. And so the fact that they kind of won pretty convincingly in a lot of ways, I'm fine with it. The Cleveland game, I just don't get. I mean, that was just, I mean, we can just chalk up like a 40 point loss every year as just the doing business as a Warrior. But I don't think, all things considered, you play the team in front of you. I think that's great. The Mavs is the one I think is the one that I would want to talk about the most, because either it proved the Warriors, or I think it really is about the Mavs not being that good. Like, when I looked at that roster and what they did since they went to the conference finals against the Warriors in 2021, adding Kyrie and Klay Thompson, like, are we sure that makes the team that much better, especially towards the end of the year and during the playoffs? So that's my take, is really like, are the Mavs really that good, and is that important? Are they an important game?
I don't think the Mavs are that good. I actually think they might be worse. I thought they were pretty good last year. 2 years ago, I thought it was just when they played the Warriors.
But all the rankings preseason had them pretty high up.
I mean, I think that's just kind of Western Conference Finals champ, like the typical, you have to put them at the top somewhere. But even when they went 5 out and the Warriors won the title, I just thought that team was like so overrated. I mean, they had Brunson back then too, though. But I thought they were pretty good last year. I haven't watched them too much, but like, I still think it remains to be seen, because I don't know. I really don't know. I love Klay, but I don't know how much he actually helps them, because he's streaky, and he's still streaky. And, maybe he'll find his groove and his niche with that team. One thing about what your friend said about the Warriors always, playing against them. I mean, that's the fact of the matter, right? Like, everybody who wins plays against somebody more or less who's hurt. And the Warriors lost because they lost their finals runs because somebody was hurt, right? Whether it was like Steph or KD or Klay, you know what I mean? So,
or suspended.
It goes both ways. Yeah, exactly. Or like, Andre Iguodala out or hurting or whatever. So, trust me.
No, but I think it's right. I think it's more important to see who wins on NBA 2K the season before, and just use the computer to play all the games out, fully loaded and no injuries.
That road trip for the Warriors, I mean, it was impressive. It shows that they can still, that they've got something, and that they're coming together. I think that this might be the deepest team since the 17-18 title team. Definitely not as good, because they're not as top heavy and they're older. They don't have like a ton of Hall of Famers on their team or anything like that. And their bench, like pound for pound, isn't as good. But I think that since then, they do have like way more depth. And I mean, they got work to do though, because you got those leads on the road and you cough them up. So they're still trying to find, I mean, if they better pack some wins, because, once Steph or Draymond or something, mostly Steph, once he misses a few more games here and there, and I think, we're going to appreciate that. Remember, they won the title going 18-2, or starting out the season 18-2. And then they kind of played, just over 500 basketball, maybe 500-600 basketball the rest of the season. And that's what they banked on, because remember, Dre got hurt with the calf in the back, and then Steph got hurt, and then he came back right for the playoffs. So, and even against the Mavericks, they missed Kyle Anderson. They missed somebody on that second unit who could calm everything down. So hopefully things can keep progressing. What's your?
I don't want to jinx it or anything, but like there's been a lot of injuries going on this year compared.
Oh, it's terrible.
So it might be good to just make sure that we're pretty deep up until the trade deadline.
Yeah, give me your thoughts on Kuminga. Have you changed your mind on how much you loathe him as a player in a Golden State Warriors uniform?
I think I'm still right that he doesn't.
Thank God he's not a DJ.
But sometimes you need somebody who can get a bucket. And so the two things that are true are if everything falls apart, you can hand it to Kuminga and he can figure things out. He's still getting there, but like out of all the players out there, other than Steph, he can do it. Like he can make a bucket when the system breaks down. The other thing that I think is a big thing is like it looks like Draymond and Steph really trust him. Like when the lineup really matters, apparently they want him in there. And so for those two reasons alone, he might be more valuable than ever, just because this perfect brand of basketball sometimes doesn't work in the last 3 minutes when the Warriors don't foul when they're up by 3 points, which I still don't get. Luka's still getting a 3-point shot off. Absurd, ridiculous. Please, somebody.
There was that 3-point, that corner three that Kuminga hit towards the end of the game, and I was like, Steph cut across, and then Kuminga was alone, and he passed it to him, and I was like, oh, please make this, and he switched it, and that's what he needs to do. He needs to be able to earn Kerr's trust, Steph's trust that he's going to hit that shot, and I'm looking forward to. I mean, because the closing lineup with Melton healthy was Steph, Melton. I believe it was Steph, Melton, Kuminga, Wiggins, and Draymond. And that's a solid lineup in terms of defense. Obviously not size, but it gives you a couple of shooters, definitely some smart players. It gives you defense, as I said. And then Kuminga and Wiggins. I mean, the whole thing to me about Kuminga, like, oh, he's better off the bench. It's like Steph missed the first 3 games. And so, he got hurt and he missed a few games after the first 3. And so like you put Kuminga on the bench just because it made sense for whatever lineups they needed. And he just started finally playing better. You know what I mean? I don't think it's necessarily, oh, he's better off the bench. But also the thing was like Wiggins is aggressive. He still has the worst touch I've ever seen for somebody of his athleticism around the rim. But it's a good problem to have that he's actually really, really engaged and he's playing with force, which is all we've ever wanted.
Yeah, I mean, Wiggins is still an anomaly for me. Have you seen who the highest scorers are?
No.
On a game to game basis, it's been healed in all the wins. It's been healed most of the time, especially in the beginning of the season, and then Steph. In the 2 losses, it was Wiggins in the loss and Kuminga in a loss. And so I think we know who needs to be the number 2 in a win. I guess it's healed. It would be nice if it was Wiggins or Kuminga, but it seems like they're gonna be on the losing end if they're our best players.
Yeah, I mean, I'll toss the Kuminga blowout. I mean, leading scorer in the Cavs blowout. They just played him a bunch, and he just had a good matchup. But thanks for coming on in a pinch, in a blazingly quick and efficient 20-minute episode, man. I'll talk to you soon.